Spie dal mondo!
Buongiorno a tutti, studenti e studentesse di Unicam, e bentornati a Spie dal mondo. Ho deciso di registrare comunque una intro perché in realtà la puntata in questione è un'intervista in inglese. Qui a Spie dal mondo di puntate in inglese ne abbiamo fatte più di una, però questa, a dire il vero, l'ho trovata abbastanza interessante e ho deciso che magari valesse la pena di fare un piccolo riassunto in italiano, giusto per incuriosirvi e magari stimolarvi a fare uno sforzo in più e ascoltare la puntata anche se è in inglese, quindi anche se magari non tutti sono proprio al loro agio. La puntata in questione è un'intervista a una persona molto interessante che ho incontrato qui, in realtà, una mia coinquilina, Francisca. Ho deciso di intervistarla per diversi motivi, in realtà. Primo di tutti il fatto che è una persona che ha una grandissima energia, che mi ha spinto a vivere molte avventure. In realtà lei è stata qua in Sudafrica per un po' più a lungo di me e quindi aveva già familiarità con l'ambiente e mi ha introdotto a diverse situazioni molto interessanti. Siamo stati insieme un weekend in montagna, in una capanna, siamo andati a fare degli eventi sportivi molto interessanti e quindi ha un bellissimo spirito di iniziativa e di avventura che apprezzo tantissimo, ma in realtà il vero motivo per cui ero interessato a intervistarla è il fatto che ha viaggiato moltissimo per il mondo per via di ciò che studia. Lei è iscritta a un corso il cui nome è Global Studies, un corso che ho incontrato diverse volte durante i miei viaggi in giro per il mondo, ma non ho mai conosciuto nessun italiano che lo facesse, quindi c'ho il dubbio a questo punto se in Italia abbiamo questo tipo di laurea oppure no, la laurea in Global Studies. Essenzialmente è un percorso di studio che prevede che lo studente viaggi fra vari paesi, che insomma scopra un po' il mondo e diciamo si immerga un po' all'interno delle politiche sociali di vari paesi e che poi chiaramente le studi anche all'università. Questo è quello che ha fatto lei durante i suoi viaggi, che non sono limitati solo a occasioni di studio, ma anche proprio viaggi di piacere, diciamo. Ha visitato non so quanti paesi, è stata molto a lungo in Canada, in Ghana, in India, in Cambogia, in Nepal, adesso in Sudafrica, e lei è di origine tedesca. Quindi la prima cosa che ho pensato quando l'ho vista è: oh, santo cielo, una spia dal mondo! Ne abbiamo trovata una coi fiocchi, sinceramente. E quindi in realtà, siccome fra pochissimi giorni lei tornerà nel suo paese, ho colto la palla al balzo e prima che se ne andasse le ho proposto di fare questa intervista che fra pochissimo ascolterete. Abbiamo toccato un po' di tematiche interessanti. Abbiamo parlato del Sudafrica un pochettino, perché chiaramente lei in questo momento si trova qua in Sudafrica a scrivere la sua tesi magistrale, quindi ha studiato le dinamiche sociali di questo paese. Abbiamo parlato di un po' di cose, in realtà l'argomento della sua tesi a grandissime linee, neanche io ce l'ho molto chiaro in realtà, però a grandissime linee va a studiare i meccanismi economici del paese e spingono il paese verso una forma di capitalismo, altri invece vorrebbero un socialismo ma un po' poco chiaro. La verità è che comunque non è neanche tanto facile sapere quali sarebbero le conseguenze di questi vari modelli economici sulla società, dal momento che dall'inizio del periodo democratico il Sudafrica è stato governato solo da un unico partito e quindi non si sa gli altri partiti esattamente cosa farebbero, perché non hanno mai avuto occasione di dimostrare la loro onestà, e soprattutto al momento, diciamo, che i vari partiti all'opposizione sono uniti nell'opposizione, ma chiaramente hanno grandissime differenze, quindi non è neanche tanto facile prevedere in che modo evolverebbe il paese qualora uno di questi prevalesse, qualora l'opposizione vincesse sul partito al governo al momento. Quindi abbiamo chiacchierato un pochettino di questo e anche di come la fetta povera della popolazione potrebbe impattare sulla vita politica, perché chiaramente, come ho accennato anche nella precedente puntata sul Sudafrica, la grandissima maggioranza della popolazione sudafricana in realtà è del ceto povero, quindi non è molto inserita all'interno delle politiche del paese. Ecco, insomma, cosa accadrebbe se anche loro fossero interessati in tutto questo? Migliorerebbe la situazione? In realtà Francy ha descritto uno scenario non proprio ottimistico. Io in realtà, stando qua, ho avuto l'impressione che la storia del paese si stesse rialzando in qualche modo. Lei ha descritto uno scenario un po' diverso in cui in realtà c'è ancora tantissimo lavoro da fare, non è tutto molto immediato, cioè non si può veramente dire che il paese si stia rialzando in qualche modo. Quindi c'è un po' c'è una nota un po' incerta, no? E infatti abbiamo concordato entrambi nel definire questo paese il paese dei contrasti, perché è proprio così in realtà. Procedendo nell'intervista abbiamo parlato un pochettino anche del mondo, dei viaggi, del significato di essere umani. Come sapete io sono un po' paranoico con queste questioni un po' filosofiche. È forse l'intento più grande dei miei viaggi, scoprire cos'è che ci accomuna tutti, scoprire il significato dell'umanità, scoprire nuovi significati. Quindi io mi sono sentito in dovere di farle questa domanda a lei che ha viaggiato così tanto. In realtà ne avevamo discusso pure prima dell'intervista e lei mi aveva detto che non era poi così entusiasta di rispondere a quella domanda, perché è una tipa un po' molto pragmatica, insomma, si occupa di problemi reali, non di astrazioni filosofiche come piacciono a me. Però comunque è stato molto interessante sapere la sua opinione su questo e abbiamo in generale chiacchierato un pochettino del significato del viaggio, del significato dell'essere noi e di quello che ci circonda. Spero che questo brevissimo riassunto serva un pochettino a farvi da trailer e magari a stimolarvi ad ascoltare l'intervista. Ripeto, è in inglese, ma lei ha un accento perfetto, quindi io lo trovo molto comprensibile e in realtà è stata un'intervista molto piacevole sotto il portico di casa mia. Signori, vi abbraccio con grandissimo piacere dal Sudafrica, vi abbraccio con le mie parole e con i miei pensieri. Buon ascolto. Hello there. So okay, here's the microphone. So, who are you? I honestly, I just realized that I don't even know your surname. Can you do a little bit of an introduction for our listeners in Italy?
Oh, sure. Yeah, my name is Francy, short for Francisca Felton.
All right.
I don't know.
Felton.
People need to know my last name. Not that important. Yeah, I'm from Germany, from the southwest. Grew up in a small place, rural area. Yeah, did all my schooling there. Afterwards, decided I wanted to see more of the world. Spent some time abroad, but studied in Germany as well. And then, yeah, now found my way to South Africa, living in the same apartment as Nina. And yeah, that's kind of my...
How did you end up in South Africa? Like, how? So it's because of your studies, right?
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
What are you studying?
So yeah, my master's program that I'm doing currently is called Global Studies, which is, I don't know, very unhelpful as to explain what it actually means. It's all kinds of social sciences mixed together, and just with a global focus, mostly on the global south. So for that, we had to do an exchange term at the University of Cape Town, and I loved it so much, so I decided to come back a year later and do my research for my master thesis here.
Lovely. All right. So you are here doing global studies. I don't think in Italy we have anything like that, honestly. Like, I've met some people from all over the world doing global studies, but I've never met anybody in Italy doing that. That's so strange, yeah. And my mother is calling me. Okay. Anyways, so that's very interesting. So in how many countries have you been, and what were these countries? It's all part of your program, right? So like in global studies, you are supposed to travel the world.
Yeah, so within the program itself, I studied in 3 different countries. One of them Germany, so not actually that many. So I've done a lot of traveling before that for my other studies, but also for other things. So now in the last years, I went to South Africa to study, to India to study, to Sri Lanka, to Nepal for holidays and hiking. And before that I studied in Canada for a year, lived in Ghana for a year, and then visited Cambodia, visited the US, visited, what else? I mean, a bunch of European countries.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's basically it.
So now the people listening, they understand why I wanted to interview you. You actually traveled a lot, and I I feel like, I don't know, the more you travel, the more you discover about the world and about yourself. Would you agree on that?
For sure, yeah. I think especially not really when I just traveled for a few weeks. I think that was just interesting, but when I actually learned something about myself was when I stayed abroad for at least 3 months, I think, and actually studied there or did other things. And that's when I felt like I was a different person abroad, and then kind of to reconcile the different personas I had kind of over time created, I think, a new version of me that I like, or that's more, I don't know, more myself.
Wow, this is so interesting. So did that happen also in South Africa? I guess so.
Much less. It happened much more when I stayed abroad for a whole year and when I was still younger.
So
in South Africa, it was definitely something that happened, but it wasn't that long, so
fair enough.
Wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, you're already grown.
Yeah.
Which was the country where you felt this thing in particular? Canada or?
Mostly Ghana, because that was the first time I really stayed abroad and for a long time. So and it was such a different context, because I was working all of a sudden, I was staying with a different family, speaking a different language, so that really made me feel like I was a different person. I also behaved differently, so yeah.
And you worked there? So
so it was voluntary work. So,
voluntary, alright. For how long again, sorry?
For 1 year.
1 year, okay. Wow, that's so interesting. And what language did you speak there?
English.
English?
Yeah.
Wow.
Learned some little pieces of Twi, what most people speak there.
Do you remember?
After English. Allah. That's
Go for it. Like nobody in Italy knows the Ghana language, so you can do
what
whatever.
I most remember is Yenko, which means let's go, what people always say when they restart the buses.
Oh, that's amazing.
But I really forgot the how are you and all of that.
Well, it's alright though. Like
so
Yenko is already very useful. Like, can you use it on a daily basis? Like, let's go everybody.
I think so, yeah.
Yenko. Wow, that's useful. That's interesting. All right. All right. Thank you for introducing yourself. I actually wrote some questions. You know that. So the first question that I wanted to ask you is, what are you doing here in South Africa? Like, what's your thesis about? In very particular detail, like as detailed as you want to go. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm doing. Well, I was supposed to do research here. Now I'm actually doing archival work, but so I'm getting into social sciences now. Get ready. So my overall interest was to work on something concerned with capitalism and kind of understand it better, but also find ways people critique capitalism here, and how that's different from kind of how we think about capitalism in Europe. So yeah, it was a long journey. I went into different topics, but now I've kind of arrived at a point where I'm interested in looking at the unemployment in South Africa, which is very high in compared to other countries in the world, and kind of look at where the unemployment comes from, where it's going, how the government deals with that, how the society deals with that, and also what that means for work in South Africa and for those working, but especially those who cannot find work. So I'm looking a lot at these logics around work, and how the government talks about that especially. And yeah, in the end I want to also look at a policy called the basic income grant, which wants to address this problem of unemployment. And there's different debates around that, and with the upcoming elections in South Africa, it's coming up again that the president has promised that they're doing that, and it's just interesting to see the dynamics around that. And overall, I just kind of want to take a lesson away from the South African context on how colonial logics are entangled with capitalist logics, but also other ideas that workers have themselves, and how it's very difficult to kind of leave those norms behind when they've been ingrained in society for several decades.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is so complex and so interesting, honestly. I would love to know much more about that. I remember that a couple of weeks ago, somebody told me, I don't know, you can confirm that or tell me how it's different. Somebody told me that the government is not encouraging small industries, small companies to arise. Somebody told me that, huh? I don't know anything about this, but they told me that, of course, there is a lot of unemployment, of course, there is a lot of poverty, and what you are supposed to do is to encourage people to start their own their business in a very local scale, but the government is not doing that, apparently. Do you know something about that? Like, I don't know, is that what you're working on, or?
It's definitely come up. So I'm looking a lot on at what the government says, and they always say we want to support small businesses. We're gonna give them support and funds and whatever. But it definitely is very different from what they do in practice, because they think in practice it's just that small businesses don't have a lobby, they don't have money, so they aren't able to exert that kind of influence on the government that big businesses do. So I think that's a major issue. And with small businesses, they're often informal, they're often kind of not easy to regulate. So I think that's why the government has a very ambivalent relationship, because they kind of know they need it, but they also find it hard to deal with it. That's kind of my impression.
Okay. So overall, would you say that South Africa is going in, like, it's getting somewhere regarding this issue? Like, are they doing some good stuff over the years? Also looking at the history of the country, of course.
Unfortunately, I don't think it's going anywhere.
Oh, really?
In a better direction, really, because I mean, the latest thing was the COVID pandemic, which made it so much worse. I think I've been hearing that 3 million people lost their jobs in that context and haven't really found back into employment. So it's just been raised a lot, but I don't think. We're now people are talking about these other things that could be done, like the basic income thing, but overall they're just trying to do the same things they've been trying to do for the last 30 years and which haven't worked. So yeah, and overall, talking to a lot of South Africans, I think the overall attitude is that things are getting worse.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, unfortunately.
This is very unfortunate, yeah. So, okay, they're not going somewhere, but
they're always going somewhere. So
of course. But they're not going somewhere better. But do you feel like, with your knowledge, you would be able to point a better direction for this country? Like, how could they solve their problems in this country? If you have an answer, like, of course you don't have to answer.
I mean, I can only echo other answers, because I talked a lot to with activists on the left side, kind of who are part of worker struggles, and they would say we need a big social movement, a mass social movement, like it was happening when apartheid ended here, but also again around the 2010s there was a big movement, and they kind of want to see something like that again, but with a better political base. But then the questions are always, where exactly is that supposed to go? Some people would want socialism, but what kind of socialism? Other people would just want a capitalist democracy, but with better regulations, or some just want to fight corruption and think that's gonna deal with a lot of issues. And yeah, it's just difficult. There is not one solution. Nobody knows what would actually solve all the issues.
Yeah, of course. This is very interesting. What about the people in the townships, the very poor people? They don't get to vote. Do they vote? Do they?
Oh yeah,
they do. Okay.
They need to register to vote, but yeah, they can definitely.
But
vote.
Do they actually vote?
I don't know the different participation rates for different areas, but overall voting shares have gone down a lot since the first election.
Oh,
I think
really?
they were at like 50-something%.
Oh, all right.
For the last election, but yeah, we'll see how it is this year.
Wow. So would you feel like, I don't know, that's just an impression, but would you feel like if poor people, like the vast majority of people in this country actually, if they voted, if they participate more into the politics of this country, would that be better? Like, would that help this country?
I mean, the thing is, only because more people vote doesn't make the government better.
All right.
So, I mean, since the end of apartheid, only one party has been ruling this country. So all the others, we have never seen them, or South Africa has never seen them in power. So even if they maybe promise nice things, nobody knows what they would actually do should they ever come into power. And the ANC has clearly fucked up in a lot of regards. So
that's the party in charge right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't think the voting itself, I mean, it's great to have that participation to map better what the population actually thinks, but it's not going to make politics better in itself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so deep and complex. Like human sciences, they are always this in my university, we don't do human sciences. Not at all. Like you're talking to scientists. Some of the people, they're doing law, and that's as human as we can go in my university. But apart from that, like, yeah. So anyways, I feel like this is a good moment for leave our listeners with a song. I told you about that. But I already asked you to think of a song.
Yeah.
Do you have that already?
Yeah, I think it's just going to be the song I listen to most at the moment, which is Je te laisserai les mots, des mots.
Ah, yeah, I know that song.
I forgot the name.
I should know the name though. Okay, that's a very nice one.
Yeah,
don't worry about that. We will figure it out. So guys, you are about to listen Je te laisserai de mon whatever. Okay.
Je te laisserai des mots en dessous de ta porte, en dessous de la mur qui chante tout près de la place où tes pieds passent, cachés dans les trous dans ton divan. Et quand tu es seul pendant un instant, ramasse-moi quand tu voudras, ramasse-moi quand tu voudras, ramasse-moi quand tu voudras.
Bentornati a Spie dal mondo. You just listened to Je te laisserai de mots. I think that's the pronunciation. Almost. Do you know how to pronounce it?
I'm not a native speaker, but
well,
I
you
think it's
studied
more
French.
like Je te laisserai des mots.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, well, perfect. So, okay, we continue our interview with Francy. We don't have much time left because we have to go to a museum in a moment. But I have 3 more questions that I would like to discuss with you. Like, it's not like I ask something and you have to answer. It's like a discussion because we don't have proper answers for everything, right? We are not scientists today. We are doing human science.
What?
I'm sorry. Oh, but that's true, right? I mean, you don't.
Science.
Of course it's. Oh no, yeah. I'm sorry. I said it. Okay, that's what I said wrong. I'm sorry. Okay, we are not doing hard science. We are doing human science. All right. So we don't always have a unique answer for everything. That's what I was supposed to say. I'm sorry if I offended you. All right. So a question that I wanted to ask you is this: what is a unique, beautiful thing about this country that you haven't found in other countries?
Yes. So I think there's 2 actually. One is personal, one is more, I don't know, about the whole country. So the personal for me is the people I found here, my friend groups, because they are just the most open and lovely people who kind of included me in their friend group within a few weeks, and I felt home right after, like from that moment. So that's my personal experience, but I've also felt like that's a thing that's, I don't know, not typical, but that happens a lot in South Africa. People come here and they're so welcomed by South Africans. So that's been amazing, and I haven't had such close friendships in other countries, I think. Yeah, and then the second thing, what I love about South Africa, the culture, at least the way I experience it here in Cape Town, is so because there's so much pain and so much distress in South Africa currently, but also in its history. But so the way the South African history and the diversity of culture and whatever, how that's used and then kind of articulated in artistry and in different cultural forms, like just visual art, but also dance and theatre, all of that, music as well. I just love how people express themselves. I love the diversity of stuff that influences culture here.
This is so interesting, actually. This is such a complex country. Like there is so much history and so many contradictions, I feel like, inside the country, because I also felt very welcomed here, although being South Africa a very dangerous country, like in general, which is crazy for me. Like, how can a society be so contradictory with it? Like, there is so much social disparity, the social classes, they are so divided, but still I feel welcomed here, but still there is something that I feel unsafe about here. It's so strange. I don't know, such a complex country, really.
Yeah, it's a country of contrasts, that's for sure.
Yeah, a country of contrasts. Yeah, that's a good one. I really felt like while I was here, I was questioning humanity every time. I told you about that. I told you many times about that. But that's actually how I feel. Like I struggle to understand what do we all have in common, and that's actually why I'm about to ask you this question that you already know about. That's a thing, like a very personal thing of myself, all right? And that's the only reason why I'm asking you this. And I'm sorry if that makes you uncomfortable to discuss about this, but I would love to ask you what the definition of being human is to you. I know it's like, this is my own struggle. I'm asking this because this is my own struggle, but I really want to get an answer. I want to ask everybody about that. I want to ask many humans, what do they think being human means? And you met many humans during your travels. So, like, if we want to rephrase the question, my question is, what do we all have in common in the end? Do we all have something in common? Are we all human in the same way sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a ton in common. Yeah, I mean, unlike you, I don't go around and think about this kind of question while I travel and stuff. But I do think what kind of unites all people in this world is that we are social, we need other people, we need love, belonging in some sense, and that's kind of, to me explains a lot of the issues we have in this world, but also a lot of the beauty we have in this world. It comes from human interaction, which is everywhere, and from human conflict, which is also everywhere. So yeah, I think that's the best answer I can give you.
And that's an amazing answer, actually. So I just want to tell something that happened to me while I was wondering about this question. 10 days ago, it was First Thursdays, that I will have to talk about First Thursdays in another episode probably, but I was roaming around and I ended up inside an art gallery and I found a notebook handwritten by a traveler here in Africa. And there was this quote that said, being alive is not about knowing much, but about loving much. And this connects to what you said. We all need love. We all need one another. So that's probably the best answer, even though I never feel satisfied. It's not about you, it's just about me. Like, I never feel satisfied about exploring the human nature and the whole world. There is so much to say. We are so complex.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we can end this episode with just one last question, which is, once again, as usual, about my questions, very, abstract, probably, like, okay, whatever. But I want to ask you, what do you think the world needs the most? So, like, I can give you a hint of what I mean with this question, answering this question about me. Like, I feel like the world right now needs more awareness. Like, that's my personal take on this, because it's very complex once again. And I feel like we have a lot of technology, a lot of science, a lot of everything, but even in their own lives, people, they are not aware about themselves, about what they want, about what they need, about how to make their life better and other people's life better. So for me, very personally, I would answer awareness. That's what society needs the most. Mm-hmm. Do you agree on that, or you can say whatever you want?
I think, for me, I focus on other things here, but also, I must say, my answer kind of relates more to the global north than it does to the global south, I think. But not only. But I think a major issue in the world today is that there's so much polarization and societies are drifting apart. But that's also true for South Africa, actually. It's getting more unequal. So I think one very practical thing we need, I think, is redistribution. But that's, of course, very difficult to do in a realistic sense. But on a more human level, I think we need more empathy, then again, awareness of histories, of inequalities, of privilege, and of also, of how different the world is for other people, how they get to think what they think, or to thinking what they think. So I think it's those two kind of bridge the divides through, like, interaction, through understanding, but also through giving more to those who don't have enough for historical reasons.
That's very deep, very interesting. All right. Thank you for the interview.
You're welcome.
It was amazing. It was amazing knowing you, honestly. You're a very active person. I feel like you embrace the meaning of being alive in some way.
I hope so.
I really feel that, like, about you. So thanks again. Do you want to say one last thing to your Italian listeners before you say goodbye forever?
Ciao ragazzi. Ragazzi.
Amazing. Alright. Ciao ragazzi, questa era Spie dal mondo e siamo qua in Sudafrica. Abbiamo avuto l'intervista con Francy ed è stato bellissimo. Spero che l'intervista vi sia piaciuta. Probabilmente farò un riassunto in italiano che verrà messo all'inizio di questa puntata. Vi saluto, vi abbraccio. Ciao Spie dal mondo.